You're good.
We're live at the Capitol. We've talked to the South. We're here at the South Capitol exit. And you can see there's quite a formation behind me of Capitol Police. There's quite a strong presence. We've already been approached in the 2 seconds or 3 seconds we've got here by several Capitol Police officers. And they've asked us just to keep it at a distance. They don't want to identify any folks or anything. We totally understand that. It is a sensitive day with 2 deaths and so forth. So we'll watch your foot. Watch your foot. Watch your foot. We're working press, guys. We'll keep our distance. We'll keep our distance. We, the plans we had made before are a little bit. We're gonna have to walk a little bit in a wider angle than we had planned. We wanted to show everybody the Capitol and the very large police presence, and also the armed, I believe it's 10th Mountain Division here at the Capitol. But we'll walk around. And Addy and John, are you there, or are we live now?
We are live.
Okay. Hey, John, how are you?
George, I'm doing great. I'm so grateful for you guys to make the big trek down to D.C. to do some live reporting from the streets of Washington, D.C.
Yeah, we had hoped to have, kind of a, be able to show the big presence of the police in the various forms, but we've talked to Ann Vandersteel. We're going to go over to the Supreme Court and meet her. We're going to have to take a more circuitous route. We're going to do our social distancing and so forth.
So It's not like the other day when we were there. You can't just walk around a little bit.
We are going to walk around that way, but we can't go the way we were, because those shots are too close for comfort. There was 2 police officers that died from the 6th. One was apparently a suicide. Lieben's, I can't remember his last name now, for Lieben's good or something like that. And then there was another one that began with S, like Sus. And he apparently died later in the day from a heart attack. We don't have all the details. Apparently he was a Trump supporter. But of course, there was one woman who was shot at 1 o'clock when these sort of orange hats went up on the went through the barricades. And then now we have information that there was 4 different groups. I had said biker type gangs. They all had looked like they had similar tattoos, prison gangs or biker gangs. And there's 4 different ones now. Tom at our newsroom simulation had 100. The number was 100. The New York Post put the number out at 100 of extremist groups. We had said that we believe that there was 2 groups from Fayetteville in terms of extremist groups of about 25 each. And the woman who was there, named Emily Rainey, looked like she was responsible for recruiting them. It's very difficult to believe that the FBI said they sent the information about the 25, the groups of 25, directly to the Capitol Police a day in advance, but they sent it electronically. It's very difficult to believe that they wouldn't send that information immediately via a phone call. I mean, the mayor had declared, something close to martial law. Hang on left, yeah.
So what's the overall town vibe and tone of the Capitol right now as you walk around?
I would say around the Capitol, very tense. I would say a block away from the Capitol, people are enjoying the nice sunny weather here that we sometimes get in Washington, D.C. Late in the year. So, when we were just standing by the subway, and a big guy came over immediately, and then another guy came over, Capitol Police officer came over. We had...
How many people were on the subway? Was it the metro? Was it packed? Was it empty?
Hardly any at all. Hardly any at all. And they asked us for our press passes, and I had the Latino for Trump pass, and Addy had the Latino for Trump pass. Both, we didn't bring them because we didn't think it would be any problem. So the officer looked Hispanic. We impressed him greatly with our Spanish, but that wasn't enough. So we had to kind of cut wide. So we're gonna keep wide here. We don't want to get the. You're gonna see the. I'm gonna stay at a distance. I don't want to identify any of the National Guard there, but you can see them there.
Okay.
And let me mask up here.
Are they on every street corner? Is there any snipers about every street corner?
Yeah, around the Capitol, yes. Kind of on every street corner, yeah. And then there's quite a presence inside the visitor center, which is in the middle of the Capitol. So I'm sorry I have to get a mask on, but if we go to we get in prison, we can't bring you the story. So I have to stay to this side. We're going to stay at a distance. We don't want to identify anybody. But this is the Library of Congress right here. So this is a long block away from. It's a long block away from the Capitol grounds. So that shows you how far out the perimeter has been set here, and a fairly big footprint here. And I don't know. I haven't asked the soldiers where they're from. I thought it was 10th Mountain Fort Drum, but the military police, Fort Drum military police, had been brought in last year, in 2020 in June. So you can see there's foot patrols and so forth circulating the environs here. You can see the back of the Supreme Court over there in the archives building, or the Smithsonian map room there at Capitol South for some reason. John, did you have a question? You look like you might have a question.
Oh, hey, George. Well, my only comment is that I don't see hardly any traffic there, and it seems kind of unusually quiet. Well, and I know where you are, and you're definitely having to take a big circuitous detour to get to the Supreme Court. So anyway, yeah, I know that you said you were going to meet with Ann Vandersteel, and so, to me, the big question is, 2 or 3 days ago, you and she were differing on the General McEnany theory and the idea of some white hat movement still alive. So have you had a chance to talk to her about that yet? Or I'm sure that'll be part of your conversation.
Yeah, I think that's still very much, I heard Thomas Jefferson once say, it's okay to differ in opinion as long as you don't differ in principle. And we have a difference of opinion about that. Now, I promised I wouldn't be close, so we can't be too close. So we're going to keep a distance here. But you'll be able to see blue folks in the background behind masks and so forth. But here you got the, archives building, or the Library of Congress map room building right here. This is where we had operatives coming in from. They can see a little bit of traffic here, John, on Constitution Avenue, and they're blocking the traffic as it goes up and down Independence. I would imagine Constitution would be blocked as well. So we're going to go ahead and cross when we can. I'm going to just let them go first, unless you want to be on TV. We're going to try not to identify anybody or take anybody's picture. We're just going to give the general overall feel, just so people get a feel. And we're at a distance, not trying to identify anyone. So just trying to give the public a feel of what the presence is like.
Be nice if you could see a shoulder patch on one of the soldiers or something. Maybe you could learn something.
Guys, but is it 10th Mountain? Not 10th Mountain. Okay. All right. The 10th Mountain Military Police had been here before. So we do have one person here that's carrying a flag here. Sir,
Justice in America.
Sir, what brings you here? What brings you here?
Well, God sent me here.
Okay, and we're the news outlet, Neighborhood News. You're playing a sign here, "Appeal to Heaven."
Appeal to heaven, and we demand justice.
Now, were you?
So this is our appeal to heaven, is for justice in this country. And there's too much corruption. There's too much that's a charade, and we need the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And today, I'm standing here, to say that we need justice, and we need what's true and right for our country. And I believe in Donald Trump because he stands with our founding fathers. So I stand with him today,
Okay.
and I believe he's standing for the good principles of this country, that made us free.
Can you say where you're from? What state?
Florida.
Florida. Came a long way. Okay, well,
Yeah.
Great. Well, this impeachment, I think the vote is happening right now, or has happened. Looks like this House will surely impeach Trump for the second time. Do you think you see that as a vengeful move, or what?
No, Trump's going to be seated 4 more years. He's not going to be removed.
Okay.
And I believe just as God's son sits in heaven, because God placed him there, he sits in heaven, that Donald Trump's going to sit in the White House 4 more years.
Okay.
The corruption is going to be exposed, and I believe, the hammer's going to come down from God.
Well, thanks for coming from Florida
All right.
and giving us your thoughts.
All right.
Okay.
He's going to bring justice.
So you can see that there's some folks still kind of hanging on to the thread of hope here that the servers that they went in to get, the Nancy Pelosi laptops, etc., are, in the hands of the good guys, I guess, and so forth. So, but the swoosh there, the ellipse, or the yin and yang, is the patch, John, for the Army. The yin and yang symbol.
Yeah.
And I don't know which unit that is. I want to say Fort Bragg. I want to say one of the special, the Airbornes, but I don't really know.
Okay. Well, but maybe we can do some research, or some of our followers will look that up. The Army patch that looks like a yin and yang.
Yeah. Yeah, yin and yang. So I don't know if that's the special. I want to say it's one of the not spec ops, but got the 82nd Airborne, the 101st Airborne. You got the 10th Mountain for mountainous areas. So I don't know if it's one of those, or Fort Benning, or one of those, but it's definitely Army.
Well, somebody in the chat will definitely come up with it. And I can't quite see it from here, but as soon as they do,
Well, the presidents have moved out away from the Capitol 1 block, as you can see, this side of the Supreme Court.
The U.S. Army 29th Infantry Division.
29th Infantry Division. Is it blue and gray?
No, it's all black and then green. All black and green.
Okay.
So it's like a pea green and all black for the yin and yang. So anyway, we had heard reports of 1,000, and then we'd heard reports of an augmenting force of about 7,000. We'd also heard reports of maybe a Marine detachment.
If I'm not mistaken, the 29th Infantry Division was basically from Maryland. That's my recollection. And we do have a patch now Army Unit Patch 29th Infantry Division. Yeah. And that's the same. It matches the color scheme you described. So this is who they are, 29th.
Yep. Well, thanks to the 29th Infantry Division here. We're filming us, guys. Don't worry.
Sorry, I'm on screen today, and the screen's a little bit too far away from you to read.
Where's 29th based? Did you say?
Virginia.
Oh, Virginia.
Maryland, and
Oh.
Massachusetts.
Virginia, Maryland, Massachusetts.
Okay.
So, I know there's Fort Lee, where there's a lot of requisitioning and so forth.
So where you at exactly walking around? How close are you getting to the...
Well, you can see the Capitol in the distance right here. but we're 1 block over from the Supreme Court, 1 block even over. So it's a pretty big perimeter. I guess this is probably the best.
We're the corner of East Capitol Street and 2nd Street Northeast.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at right now. And as George said, you can see the building right in the foreground there between George and myself.
We got it. It's really a nice view.
Yeah, we've had, we've been blessed by kind of nice weather here at the Capitol. I would say it's very quiet. I think there's definitely a worry about the media and the media stoking something up. So I guess we're going to go away here for a second from all the sawing and construction that they're doing at the Florida house here. Speaking of our guy who is doing the Florida thing. So we're in the back of the Supreme Court now, just walking to meet Ann Vandersteel. Going back to the question you asked, John, about the servers and so forth. If you remember when this whole thing started for me, this kind of 4-year saga, looking for these BlackBerries that were dropped in my lap, literally. And I only can go and follow up on what the guy tells me. And this 40-year Biden guy, for 36 years in the Senate, and then he did support with him and was a confidant with him. And he said in the Sergeant of Arms house is where these BlackBerries are. They're encrypted and they're for treaties. They were for treaties, but they're being repurposed under the guise of a special access program, secret enclave, or a small group for an operation, private encrypted communications, for things going all the way back to Fast and Furious, then to Libya, then to Syria, then to Sudan, then to Yemen, then to the Iran nuclear deal, then to election operations in 2016, and then to the various coups, rolling coups. Now, I met him in 2017, so I didn't realize when he said, he was saying, Deep BlackBerry was saying, hey, we didn't get involved in any of that. The Biden team didn't get involved in any of that. I'm going to stay over here a little bit, keep away from the officers, but he said, we just did energy deals with Russia, mainly Russia and China. I had no idea at the time that Tony Bobulinski, 3 years later, would produce 3 BlackBerries, which were Biden BlackBerries for James Biden, Hunter Biden, and Joe Biden. I didn't know that at the time. But the one thing I did remember was that these were very involved in extracurricular activities, or fun and games, as the CIA likes to say. And this included both hacking, like the Iran nuclear situation where they put Stuxnet in. It was sort of the brains, if you will, at the Sergeant of Arms there at Nancy Pelosi's office. And it was also involved in all the energy deals, the Iran nuclear deal. This is why I expected the 10th Mountain to be here, because that's David Petraeus's unit, and I had followed a lead where it said the 10th Mountain was sort of the unit that was under the thumb of David Petraeus and could do all these actions, these covert illegal actions, the secret team type actions. So again, when you follow up on somebody who gives you a great lead and physical evidence, this is after the fact that we'd found the BlackBerries at Imran Awan's house that supported with evidence that this covert secret team existed. Then, you can only just follow that lead. Well, here we are, 4 years later. Where do those orange hats go when they break the barrier? They break the barrier and go right in and get those laptops from Nancy Pelosi's office and the Sergeant of Arms office. We don't know yet how many laptops, but it's shockingly and eerily similar to the robbery, the burglary that happened right after Trump won in 2016 with Imran Awan. It was 20 offices were burglarized, 20 congressional offices, 20 offices had the BlackBerries. And right now in that chamber, many of those people that carried those encrypted BlackBerries for Imran Awan and Nancy Pelosi and the folks are voting right now, leading the charge to impeach Donald Trump. Eric Swalwell, Ted Lieu, Juan Castro. I would imagine Andre Carson will make an appearance. Some of the folks in Bobby Rush, I believe, spoke earlier in Chicago. So it is kind of the BlackBerries, even though it's not fun to say, do sort of tie all this thing together over the years, covert actions. And of course, maybe the people who did the covert actions would want that covered up. Of course, they would send in a false flag unit in to get those servers. Now, that's my thinking because of my background. And Vandersteel's coming at it from a whole different angle, which is, hey, I'm getting it from General McInerney. Mike Flynn told General McInerney, all right? Or some proxy of Mike Flynn said this, that it was good guys that got the servers. So, and a high-end laptop now can act as a server for lightweight communications like these text messaging applications. So it doesn't fit, put it this way, it doesn't fit with my metadata what the rumor is that, oh, these BlackBerries are, good guys got these servers. It doesn't fit with my metadata, but from Ann's point of view, it fits with her contact. I have not met, but I've been on a show with General McInerney and General Valet. I don't doubt their patriotism or their expertise. They're 3-star general, 2-star general. So we'll have to find out. I doubt very seriously, people like to say we're winning. I doubt very seriously you're winning if Donald Trump is, impeached the next day. It seems more like an operation. It seems more like these were staged operations. We had staged camera locations with staged platforms, filming platforms for the event. And it seemed like those are being just regurgitated over and over. And we really aren't getting the man on the street perspective. I tried to publish as many man on the street perspectives. It was actually quite outside the Capitol. It was quite festive. There was people singing the national anthem and so forth, meeting people from other states and so forth. What happened inside was pandemonium, but by a relatively very small percentage of people. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that's my perspective, and that's why I still say that it's false hope maybe to say that the good guys got the servers.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing, after you get a chance to talk to Ann. I had seen and I guess it might just be a rumor that she had actually seen the servers. So that's a point to try to get a clarification on, if you would.
Well, she met with several people on Capitol Hill this morning, and she like at 1:00 even. And she was meeting with several folks that sponsored her just an hour before. So we'll certainly clarify that. Like I want to say, said many times, I have nothing but tremendous respect for Ann. And if she has the inside and an angle that she's got more proof than I do with my BlackBerries from the 2 different locations, much more recent, then God love her. I hope she brings it forward. We'll just have to kind of play a waiting game. It just seems so contrived, though, to go right straight to an impeachment with no due process. John, you're the constitutional lawyer. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. This is the most politically inspired impeachment proceeding that's ever happened in this country. It's completely political, and it's there. I tried not even to look at any details about it, but the one thing that caught my eye was a Representative Ocasio-Cortez saying, well, there's many reasons we do this, and well, one of them is to put people on the record. We want people to go on the record, and isn't that chilling? That what they're doing is they're just putting you down, as they play ball and this one doesn't play ball. So now we know.
Yeah, as far as the go on the record thing, I mean, Trump has 7 days to go, and it just seems like it would be a lot less trouble for everyone just to let sleeping dogs lie. And the transition of power occur. I don't. The symbolic, you know, kind of rubbing the nose in it kind of thing seems a little bit extreme. But you know, I just I don't know.
Now,
go ahead.
now, if they impeach him, they get to like expunge all the policies he got to enact throughout his presidency, correct?
Yeah, and all the executive orders as well. And that is the number one reason, I think, Andy, you hit the nail on the head, why they want to do this so badly. Because they can also have an executive order from Mike Pence to clear all the surveillance. You can have the president shut down all the surveillance and purge all the surveillance that's been collected since these BlackBerries are in existence. Because remember, these BlackBerries are sort of a token to get you surveilled.
Mm-hmm.
Once a girl, you know, talks with you and sends you a text message with one of these BlackBerries, it's full on. You know, and not only do we get a full surveillance on you as a senator or congressman, but then we get 2 hops. So all your family, all your contacts, other congressmen and so forth. So with just a few girls, you know, with a few Butinas, a few Oconus Lures, you have basically covered. And here she is. Here's Ann Vandersteel right here.
Hey, look at this. Ann and George are meeting again.
Hey, yeah.
George.
Yeah, so here
Good to
she
see
is. So everybody has they're excited. They want to hear about the servers. So tell us about the
Face
servers.
this way, guys. For the
Okay.
The service or the servers?
The servers, the laptops, Nancy's laptops.
You know what? I haven't gotten concrete details on that yet, and I'm not really comfortable talking about Nancy's laptops other than what we saw from cameramen that, you know, we trust their sources of them taking the footage of gentlemen leaving with stuff. And then, of course, General McInerney talking about how there was a White Hat operation that did leave with Nancy's laptops and others. It wasn't just hers. There was an operation that went down. I have not seen any of the contents on it, mostly because, in fact, unless, of course, it's being put out and it's okay to put out, I don't want any part of that because I don't want to get myself in trouble.
Sure.
You know, I'm just being very cautious right now. I've spoken to some people that have been longtime residents of here. And what we're seeing happen now with the transition of the National Guard that were unarmed, that were requested by the mayor of DC, to the armed National Guard, what they sort of call boys to men, is very actually in concert with what usually happens. The DOD takes over. This does become a military operation during the inauguration. It is considered that. And so while there's a lot of people talking this is a military operation, in fact, that part of it's true, but this is all in concert with what would happen with an inauguration. You have to have protection around everything. Now, here's what's ironic, and producer Liz and I were talking about this, and another lady, if Joe Biden is really concerned about coronavirus, why would you want to pull a lot of people into Washington, D.C. and spread coronavirus? In fact, that is their biggest concern. I don't see white circles being painted in the Washington, in the
visitor center.
In the visitor center or anywhere. They're not putting circles for people to face to part of, you know, social distance and all this kind of nutbag stuff that they've been doing. So I'm really interested to see how many people show up into DC next week. If people are truly buying into that narrative that they have to socially distance and do all this and wear the mask, then the circle should be there. And all the stuff they've been pushing to this point to fearmonger us into our homes and lock us down. So I'll believe it when I see it. And right now I'm really struggling seeing that narrative come forward, right? So the Washington Mall, where everybody congregates, millions of people, we'll see how many show up if they're really a believer of the coronavirus and how contagious it is and how deadly it is when we all see the statistics and the CDC walking back the numbers. And of course, none of them, all this stuff has been a lot of fear porn, George, and I don't buy into it. I don't buy into the fear porn. I've spoken to a longtime resident. I was here 4 years ago. This is actually fairly normal, what we're seeing. And the DOD does run these operations because you have to protect the transition of power. It's not my choice for power being transferred at all. Now, whether there's a separate government that comes forward in March or April, I'm going to have to wait and see because I'm getting told a lot of things. But until I see the president or Biden say it, I have to wait and see.
I noticed the gulp, the visible gulp.
It's not what I want, George.
Yeah, sure. No, we thank you for all your great reporting and making time for the neighborhood news. And you hit on something there where the muting of a president. The
muting is ridiculous. Even people in Germany, Angela Merkel is like, crying foul on that. And Twitter yesterday saying, silencing. The internet silencing social media companies, but they've singled out Uganda. I mean, seriously, come on, you guys silence the president. Facebook silenced the president. They cannot be hypocrites like that and talk about silencing Uganda. It's totally ridiculous. It's like the United Nations, a splintered tribe from an obscure country can have more power than the United States of America, which funds all this. It's all BS, and we know it.
Right.
You know, this is the hypocrisy. Driving in an Uber to get from where we are on the hill here down to the bottom of Pennsylvania by Freedom Plaza, we had to go out south of town and around on the highway. And I looked at all the construction. I thought to myself as I was driving by and then walking around up on the hill last night, there's nobody here, but the real estate up here is booming. Where is the demand for the supply that's here? I don't see it. I don't see the demand for the supply. So this is all part of the the takedown of corporate America being conspiratorial. COVID knocking out the mom and pop shops, Home Depot and Lowe's stocks skyrocketing. All the globalists. Look at the airlines that are pushing patriots off flights and trying to silence us. Look at social media. There has been a giant conspiracy pushed by the left, pushed by the globalists, CCP, UK, all involved, and they're destroying middle America right now.
Main Street America.
Main Street America is getting wiped off, and we're going to become beholden to a communist socialist government, which is what they want. And Trump, unfortunately, God bless him, he tried, but as I've been saying, it's up to you and me and Addy and everybody around us to take our civic duty rights and get back into our local governments and get these machines out of here, get these voting machines out, go to paper ballots, bring back and restore election integrity. Because this machine has gone on for a long time, and they're, I hate to say it, they're winning right now.
2011, and we just saw some depositions about Serbia in that regard. But Diane, I want to go to a story that we've had here about the FBI one day before the January 6th, saying, hey, there's 4 terrorist groups, about 25 members each. Knowing that they're here, they said they informed the Capitol Police electronically at 40 minutes after they got the information, but sort of like the DNC server hacks for 9 months. They didn't send somebody over.
No.
They didn't pick up the phone and call. What do you think? Do you think this was a false flag? Because we saw all those orange hats, and then they put the orange hats away. So he's back. See, we interviewed this gentleman here.
Good.
Yeah, he's from Florida.
Great.
Yeah.
Love our Floridians.
So, Ann, what do you think about this story? Are you familiar with this story yet?
Yeah, I've heard this, and it's just like every other story that you hear, like the gentleman I interviewed last night, Colonel Phil Waldron, regarding, the election hack, regarding the information he's provided Mark Meadows, and, on down the line. Their eyes glaze over. This is a guy whose expertise is in cyber warfare, right? He understands it all. He can tell you how the whole thing was taken down. He has the open source intelligence. He needs declassification of hammer and scorecard so he can back it up with what he can show you in open source. It's very obvious. But when you explain that to whoever, that could sign off, their eyes just glaze over, and it goes nowhere. They don't want the machine fixed. To them, this isn't broken.
Yeah.
Because look all around you. Look at what they built in 50, 60 years.
The symbol of Dominion is the crossed fingers for the last second switch. So, Phil, you spoke of Phil Waldron, and Addy Adds interviewed him down there. It was the last interview we did about the machines, the Dominion machines, connecting modems, the Huawei backdoor, the connection to the other folks in Iran, Serbia, all this stuff. Not even an inquiry. I'm not trying to say sour grapes here, but he was a colonel, if I remember.
Correct.
And he was cyber warfare.
Yeah.
So he had the credentials to say that there was these backdoors.
Yeah, but nobody's listening.
Yeah.
Nobody's listening. And that's the problem in D.C. You get in here, you're a congressman, your starting salary is $175,000 a year. So the bartender is now making 175 G's a year. She's got a big mouth. She's being told what to say. And, they have the machines in there in New York to make sure they can keep putting her back in office. And it's the same thing everywhere, George. The machine ain't broke. They don't want it fixed.
Yeah. Now, Ann, tell us real quick for our viewers, and then John, I want to throw it over to you and Andy for a question, but tell us about your new program. You sort of whack-a-mole. It's like the whole deep state's against Ann Vandersteel everywhere she goes. Tell us where we can find you and keep track of you.
All right, so we're on Cloud Hub, which is been insulated right now. They had a problem with IBM servers taking them down for broadcasting, but they're back up. They seem to be insulated. CloudHub.com. I'm there at Ann Vandersteel. Our show, we have our own channel, 121. If you go to their channels, we brought live broadcasts at 9 o'clock there every night. I'm still on YouTube, surprisingly. So I got booted off YouTube, came back, and tripled our viewers in a couple of weeks. So because everybody's getting kicked off, I'm picking up other people's viewers. That's just, it's how it is. It's how the game is played. It's just what it is. It's not making me special. It's just what it is right now.
And that's, I believe, 9 o'clock weekday nights.
9 o'clock weeknights. Yep.
Weeknights. And
I'm on Facebook too. I'll do a live there. I might go live on Facebook now. And then I'm always on YouTube, Cloud Hub, and the Global Financial Wealth Network and Red State Talk Radio are the 2 platforms that we're on.
Yeah, and then it's the Steel Truth is the play on the words on Ann's last part of her name, 2 double E's. So it's the Steel Truth still.
Steel Truth,
the
correct.
Steel Truth. Okay.
Yep.
So
Awesome.
yeah, so I just wanted to make sure, because some people had said, I looked for the Steel Truth and, I got Addy Adds or somebody else.
Google Ann Vandersteel and you'll find Steel Truth with me.
Okay, great. And I know your producer wants to get those plugged in too. So John, do you have a question for Ann, or Andy, you have a question for Ann?
Well, I'll just say, Ann, you noticed the incredible amount of construction going on in Washington, D.C., and it's been an amazing thing for me as a Washingtonian. I'm a native. I've lived in Maryland most of my life, but I am a native Washingtonian. And to see those great big old condos going on every corner, everywhere, you see this, to me, it's just an indication that there's power coming into this city that is not, it's not native to Washington. It's not even really native to our congressional or our government system, but they're building this for some reason other than to just launder money. But I do suspect that a lot of this building is going on because there's an awful lot of money being made and they need to park it somewhere.
Right.
The whole area of southeast Washington has been redeveloped, and they did Southwest, as you know, maybe 40 years ago. But this area of Southeast that is now turned into big condos and high rent, and the beautiful DC baseball stadium for what's the name of that team again? The Washington Nationals. And, but that's an observation that I would have that you picked up on, and I around the country, people are still saying there's not much growth going on. There's not home sales, building, things are kind of cold around the country, but here in Washington, it's booming.
John, did we lose you? Or I think he just cut over. Can you guys still hear us? Give us a thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can still hear you.
So that's my observation. You're walking around here. You're a native, I think, of Florida. Am I right?
Correct. But I mean, the construction in your town is absolutely off the charts right now. And Florida is seeing a massive boon in growth because New York is, of course, emptying out from COVID. People are done with paying high taxes and having those services and being locked down. So I just talked to some folks at home in Florida, some real estate friends, and they're saying, best season ever. They're cleaning up on home sales right now. So awesome. But that's a short-term transference. Well, people can get out, they're going to get out. But I don't think that's a long-term winning proposition for real estate.
Ann's phone's ringing, and if it wasn't so sensitive right now with her getting calls, I'm going to step away for a second, give her some privacy.
That's okay.
You're good?
Yeah,
okay.
Good. Thank you so much.
Okay.
So I just had a blaster for you already. With the socialist hammer being swung down on America and our free speech being limited and our president, I guess our savior, you could call him, but I don't want to put that much on him. But with him being taken down, and what is your message to the average Joe American sitting at home? I'm from Michigan myself. Where do we go from here? Do we need to regroup and start some militias? Go back to the Civil War type methods? What's your message to us? How do we regroup and how do we come back from this?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's really basic, right? God has given us our inalienable rights. Our founders have very clearly scripted them for us in the Constitution and our Bill of Rights. We are allowed to say what we want to say and defend ourselves to say it. We need to act accordingly there. But more importantly, at this point in time, we have given up. When you refer to the president as our savior, that's a lot of responsibility to put on one man. And clearly what we're learning now, and it's a lot of it is in part to people that have interviewed people that have been, or I've interviewed a lot of people that have been in meetings with him, and they'll tell you he doesn't have loyalists around him in his immediate circle. It's not fair to put that kind of responsibility on one man. We have civic duty as residents and citizens of this country to our founding fathers, to ourselves, to our families, and to God to defend our inalienable rights. And that means we need to get involved locally in our politics. So if you can't run for an office locally, if you can't run for school board, if you can't run for tax collector, county clerk, councilman, what have you, volunteer in functions in and around government institutions. Get eyes and ears on what's going on and help somebody else get into those roles, because we need to take our government back, starting locally. Cancer starts small and it grows from within and ends up here in this, den of iniquity, as I call Washington, D.C. This is where all the cancer has metastasized to. And it includes globalists. When the machine keeps growing and growing, and you can now have corporate America turn its back on the citizens of this country that have made these corporations the behemoths that they are, and they're now part of the money laundering operation globally, and they're now stifling our ability to move around the country and have free speech. We have a real problem, but it started locally. American Airlines didn't just get born overnight to be a behemoth. It was a small little thing. This is how it goes. We need to go back to the beginning and start over. All is not lost, but we have to take some responsibility ourselves for allowing it to be given away to other powers to take care of our personal business. Once you give your power to somebody else, you elect an official, they're supposed to represent you, but you have to continue to hold them accountable. And we haven't been doing that. We sit there and we have a temper tantrum, but we don't do enough about getting rid of them. And that's where we are now. We've now allowed them to put these machines in, and these machines can be rigged from anywhere. It's been proven, but we have no accountability. We have no Justice Department to hold anybody accountable. So what do we do?
So you're saying don't just complain on social media. Just get out there and be active and support your community.
Get your hands dirty. Get your hands dirty. This is called civic duty. I'm going to harp on this until I start to see more of it. And this is what we're going to start to focus on more and more on Steel Truth. I'm going to look for those stories of people that are doing exactly this. I don't care if it's a dog catcher position. I'm going to lift them up and go, see, here's a person. This is what they can afford to do right now. And I'm going to give them a spotlight and a microphone and say, why? Why are you stepping in? And hopefully that'll infect 2 other people that'll do it in their communities, and 2 becomes 4, becomes 8, and so on and so forth. We have to start over.
I love that message.
So, John, I think your question, just for those viewers, it's hot on everyone's mind about the servers or about the laptops. We don't have a list. We've heard numbers from 1 to 16. We've even heard the number 20. We know Jeff Merkley, the Senator Jeff Merkley, had said that there was a huge amount that had been released. They are trying to do an assessment of the damage. We don't know if there's encrypted devices involved. We just don't know. And it would seem before you would impeach the president, you would put out an accounting of what actually happened, because that may be the kernel of the reason for the orange hats to go in there. They see, I could see taking the speaker's podium. There's the MRAPs coming in, different troops coming in. I could see the folks, taking odds and ends mementos, but I can't see taking a lot of laptops unless there's a good reason. It's either white hat or black hat, right, to me. Correct. I don't think it's just because we just decided to commit a capital crime and you're going to go to jail. I mean, if you take a congressman's laptop. So we're still following that story. That story isn't over.
That story is not over. And the folks that I've talked to tell me that there was a white hat operation going on that day while there was a black one. So obviously the black one being people impersonating Make America Great Again patriots. And they went up there and displayed horrible an injustice to our our public property. Destroying Capitol property is destroying our tax dollars. So no, that's wrong. But apparently there was good guys in there going after something. How is that going to play out? I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to
lying if I said I did.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. This is a very important topic to a lot of people.
It is.
And I just wanted to add the one twist, which was this FBI report. These 4 groups of 25 people not making that known to Donald Trump, not making that known to the Capitol Police.
Sounds like they were conspiring in on it.
It does. And the platforms, the television platforms strategically placed around the Capitol way before anyone was ever allowed.
More strategy from media than from law enforcement at that point.
Yeah, and the media did not use logos and so forth. They had pre-positioned all these platforms and scaffolds. How did they know that there was going to be people going beyond the bicycle barricades? How did they know? It just seems like there's some pre-planning. you would certainly go to the president. We need to be able to go to John Navarro or the chief of staff and say, National Security Council, did you inform the president that there was going to be terrorists potentially, that these domestic groups coming? Did you give him the chance to say, don't come to Washington if you've got ill intent? You know, they took that away from him. And also it looks like his communications, not to do a compound question, but his communications were also taken from him after he finished the speech. They didn't give the phone back to him.
Right.
So just your comments there on where do we go from here in terms of investigation, I guess, in investigations.
I honestly, George, think we have to continue to probe into the sources that we trust have that information, and don't let it go. Don't let Americans forget. It's like 9/11. Don't let them forget. Keep asking questions. Keep asking questions. They're trying to silence us. They're deplatforming us. They're doing everything they can. Look what they've done to the president. They have no shame in their game. They're showing us who they are. They are brown-shirted speech cartel, Nazi-acting fascists that are trying to literally silence Americans, and they're trying to do it under the narrative that we are the misogynist, fascist, racists, when in fact all we are was a very sublime, happy group of people that got mischaracterized on Wednesday, January 6th. But they do it. They own the apparatus. They own the Mockingbird media, George. So we have to continually fight the battle, like you said, whack-a-mole. We have to have multiple platforms that we broadcast on. We just can't be on Facebook or whatever. It has to be everywhere. Everywhere. If it's 2 views here and 2,000 there, awesome. Keep doing it.
Well, Ann Vandersteel, I want to thank you for giving us time this afternoon. And also, I want to thank your coverage. You were getting whacked just as often as I was on social media. And you bounced to Nevada. You picked up the whole operation. You added your fantastic producer partner in business with Liz. Your show is incredible. I mean, it's so much better than 60 Minutes. I hear Liz, finger popping in the background. No, Ann, 3 seconds, not 5. And
true.
the show is so good now.
Yep.
And production quality is so good. You've got the Times Square billboard now that you have, and you are getting through. You are breaking through. James O'Keefe wrote that book, Breaking Through. I don't know if you worked for him or not, but I know.
I did.
Yeah, I thought you did. So, do you think that alternative media can break through?
Absolutely.
In this next year.
100%. What is it they always say about invention? Necessity is the mother of invention. And guess what? Obama giving away ICANN and the internet is a necessity point for us to invent a way around and get above the social media censorship, because it's more than just Google shutting us down, or it's more than Amazon. It's more than it has to do with the platform that we're on, which is this internet of things that we're sitting on right now. We have to figure out how to get around that, because this is what they're going to do. They're going to continue to pop us wherever we are, because they can track us.
Yeah.
They know I'm talking to you right now, George. Our phones are right next to each other.
Or anybody watching. So
I got one more question.
Oh, sure.
So you're talking about the mother of invention, and we're being silenced. Our voices are being silenced, and I see a lot of push online for Elon Musk to start his own phone company, and with the Starlink satellite network. I'm not sure how much government funding he's actually getting to do all these things. What are your thoughts on Elon Musk and his patriotism for America, or just the world in general, I guess? And should we trust this man if he comes out with a new cell phone and a new platform for all of us to support?
I have to look at what Elon Musk has done, and while I think he's brilliant, I think it's the cars he's built, so on and so fantastic, but he was capitalizing on the previous administration's push to make energy costs necessarily skyrocket. President Trump comes along and makes us energy independent, which really bolstered our own national security, right? So he's now poised to capitalize again on going back to a far left administration and the need for our energy costs to necessarily skyrocket, et cetera, et cetera. The name of his rocket is the Dragon. Well, I don't have to be 2 years old to know a dragon represents something other than the United States bald eagle. So
the Falcon also.
Look at these little subliminal. Remember, they have to show you who they are. We run around with our flags on us and our bald eagles, and we represent patriotism. When people name things after dragons, I'm not saying he's on the side of the CCP. I'm just saying, look at how they represent themselves. Look at the business that they're engaged in, and then, assess. So I don't necessarily know that I would trust Elon Musk. He probably would build the best cell phone. I used to work for Craig McCaw. I helped launch the smartphone back in 1994 before Netscape IPO'd. I was on that design team for the grandfather of the smartphone that became AT&T PocketNet, became the AT&T Wireless. So I don't want to say I'm going to wait and see, but I'm very suspect. I don't know that I would. But at this point, what choice do we have? I'm on an Apple iPhone right now. There's not a lot of choices out there for keeping your communication. It's the network that we're using. So at this point, it doesn't matter who makes the phone, right? We're going over the network.
Great. Well, I wanted to also give Addy Adds one chance to ask you a question. Is that okay?
Sure,
Add a couple
absolutely.
of minutes.
I think
So
he's doing an interview.
we'll let them finish up. So I'm going to wait for Addy for 1 minute. Addy Adds. Ed has to go. So if you want to get your question in, I'm sorry, Tom. We'll get.
Yeah, no, I got.
We're going to go over here and talk to Tom. Tom, I'll have Addy in the background so we don't get in there. Yeah.
So, what's up?
What a day, huh?
Oh man, it's crazy. It's locked down so much more than it was the other day when I was here, and some folks say it's much more than even than yesterday. All this is all new, I guess.
Yeah.
So they're expecting, or at least practicing for trouble, aren't they?
Yeah. I get the sense it's not going to be the same. It's not going to. I don't even think people are going to come to Washington.
No,
again.
they're not.
Yeah. I mean,
I
Trump
don't-
isn't calling for that.
No.
Yeah.
I this whole thing is just such fakery. It just makes me laugh just about, the way I look at it, like I said a minute ago, it looks like it's practice for the military to get, how to get rounded up and get down here and, if there was really was a problem someday, because the Patriots and the good folks that we were with the other day had no intentions of any problems the other day. I was right on the front lines, stirred up maybe by 50 or 60 people at the most. And, things were happening 2 feet in front of me. There was a fellow right in front of me that was wanting to tear the fence down and, which would have been simple to do and was in the long run, and go on up the steps to the Capitol and all this stuff. And we're going in and that. And I'm like, he's an Antifa guy, but I'm not even realizing it because he had Trump stuff on. And he was talking like a Trump guy, just like we thought. And we had been warned about a couple days before that there were going to be people there in Trump gear. You remember hearing that?
Yeah,
I thought,
sure.
yeah, right.
Well, you told me about the FBI report about the 100 through an FBI buddy.
Yeah.
And that was kind of came true. Now mainstream media is reporting that.
Right.
There was this report of these supposedly 4 25-person
minivans, like the little mini buses like you'd have at the airport, like rental car companies use and that sort of thing, or small schools or churches and that sort
being
of stuff.
escorted into Washington, D.C.
With a cop car in front of them.
The night before the 6th of if this wasn't just staged. The whole
Looks like, look back on it. When you're in the middle of it, you aren't really sure what's going on, but even that evening we figured it out when we got back, when we all kind of put our heads right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you called it. I saw the report that you gave me, and I was
wondering.
I said, "Oh my goodness! I wonder if the Capitol Police know about this." And
sure they do.
And I just want to let everybody know we brought a big group of people, and anyone who would ever utter any kind of violence toward the Capitol Police or anyone else, we would have immediately reported them to the Capitol Police. We don't believe in violence. That's why we're out here with selfie sticks and not other sticks.
Yeah, we saw tens and hundreds of thousands of people. I saw nobody that wanted to make trouble. The spirit was great. I've been to plenty of marches before, up in Michigan and here and there in Ohio and all this, and the spirit was great and very patriotic and all that sort of thing. But a few troublemakers made everybody look bad is really what it amounted to.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. Bet. Jay, do you have a moment for a comment? So some people have come to Washington, D.C. to look at the aftermath. We've come here about every day since then. Let's do right here. Sure. So Jay, you came all the way from Boston. You've been here about a week and a half now?
Yep.
A week and a half?
Yep.
What do you think? You've seen everything from beginning to end here. What do you think?
I think they're really locking it down more. I thought it was the same, but there is more going on. I think at this point, I'm worried what the real story is. Like, what, I mean, I know Trump ordered some military in, but this seems excessive. And I just don't truly believe that we have armed people going to all our capitals at this point.
Yeah,
The story seems a little bit.
It seems like the ultimate FBI phishing operation.
Seems
Don't go
really-
to one of those, please.
Seems very hard to believe. And, yeah, it seems like people are real nervous around here, though. Like, they're boarding up buildings, and it was a little strange.
Yeah, I mean, how many FBI agitators and provocateurs can one city afford? I wonder if you will have another group of actors come here. I mean,
That's what I'm starting to worry about.
It looks like another staged event. If they don't get what they want here, maybe one more to go. And maybe that's why they've extended this out to the 17th. You notice how they've moved.
It's multiple days all
now
around
it's multiple days all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So that maybe give a little bit of oomph to the impeachment right at the end.
Right.
So
Jay, normally when you're not on camera, you got a million things to say. What's going on right now?
I'm just like thinking about it. I've just been walking up and down the roads, just thinking about what could be going on. I was just talking to somebody else across the road, actually. And, I was thinking that we're trying to figure out, we were talking about what George was basically saying. Was like, is this going to be another event? Or, and I was saying, maybe they're preparing, maybe they're worried about Trump actually using his executive power to protect the presidency. And this is their coup that's being set up all over the city. I don't know. It just seems like it's pretty intense around here.
You watch a lot of the actual coverage of the impeachment processes and all the voting for the Electoral College, and what was your overall vibe while you were watching that?
Say again to the truck.
Okay. You watch a lot of the impeachment processes and a lot of the voting for the Electoral College votes. What was your overall vibe? Because a lot of the Republicans were turning their votes against Trump, and just give us some thoughts on what you were thinking while you were processing the information that Trump was getting backstabbed right in front of our eyes and by the
in my stomach, because when I first turned it on and they just reconvened in the Senate and in the House, it seemed that Trump was down there actually working in Georgia for her too, and she was the first one I seen. She stepped up. Loeffler stepped up, and it was unbelievable. And she had a written down thing, and it was bad acting, because it's no way that you were prepared to, because you knew there was voter tampering, at least possibly fraud, and maybe on a large scale, and you were prepared to argue the electorals, and that is your job. And then all of a sudden, because there's an event which really isn't even related to it, she now decided, I'm not going to go against the electorals. And that was the first person I saw that night. And it seems like there's a lot of turncoats right now. It's becoming pretty obvious. But she was the first one I saw. And, the other people I saw speaking to was the same thing. It was like, Lindsey Graham, when he went on, same thing. It was just the song and dance, and it was like pretty apparent that there was now a lot of talking points, and they were all on a certain team. And this is disgusting that we were attacked, but there was some issues that day. But there's been issues at rallies around the country and riots around the country for months and months and months. And that's the first time that there was any violence portrayed at a Trump event. Mostly it was a peaceful event. And I think that there was definitely bad actors in that event anyways. But like when it comes to the higher ups in Washington right now, I think there's a lot of turncoats. I think it's obvious that people were prepared for something going down that day. It just seemed to me, because for her to come out just the way they say it just doesn't make sense that, now we're, if you thought there's voter fraud, that has nothing to do with that the Capitol got attacked. Even if everything was about that was true, why would you not do your job to protect the elections? It just doesn't make sense. And so they're turning on Trump. And now they're supporting the impeachment. The impeachment stuff's starting to happen. And basically, supposedly Mitch McConnell, it hasn't been verified, but supposedly he's in support of hearing it, and that's pretty scary, if you ask me.
Do you think Trump feels like Julius Caesar right now? Who do you think's going to be the Brutus that gives him the final blow to the?
It'll be interesting. Honestly, that'll be the real true thing. I wasn't questioning if the House of Representatives was going to turn on him and push this. But I wasn't worried that the Senate would even really hear it out, or it would go anywhere there. But I'm starting to worry a little bit just because of what I saw on the day of on the 6th. So.
Well, Jay makes a good point. It was I want to thank you for coming down from Boston, staying with our group.
Oh, it's been great.
It's really gained a lot of perspective, and he has all this video from all the other folks that were there. And we've been going through this video day and night. Jay's been on this couch for 12. Can't go outside, can't get any tan. He's just watching the video to make sure, where are these orange hats coming from, and
I've been watching those. I've been watching, I have video of the horn man, and I've been trying to assess him and see if he was even real, And it seems like
Nick and Gally, we were watching some videos of him. Give us some of your feelings on him.
I first seen him up by.
they're bringing the MRAPs in big time.
Military trucks.
Yeah.
You're watching it live here on McDuff Neighborhood News and Mr. George Webb's channel.
Yeah, they're definitely bringing in more troops. You wonder if the 100 actors that got hired with the 4 extremist groups, if this isn't going to be like an extremist group, FBI agent provocateur jamboree. It looks like, because this is gearing up. If you're out of work and you can't get any work overseas at a covert action with Blackwater, well then, my goodness, why don't you come and be a Trump guy here in Washington and make some good money for the weekend? It does seem to be like the agent provocateur all-time circus here developing.
So is that's who we're thinking the orange hats were.
Yeah, we said that they were from Fayetteville. I'd been to Fayetteville 4 or 5 different times, and there was 2 bike gangs that we were looking at specifically in Fayetteville, and then we were looking at Fort Drum. There was 2 bike gangs in Fort Drum, and basically it's not who you think. It's guys who were in Blackwater or some kind of paramilitary group that now have a bike gang. They're a little bit older. You can't necessarily have them climbing mountains and jumping out of helicopters, but you can have them. Now they're older, they can portray, Trump folks. And so we know, I have personal experience where somebody tried to influence me and give me bad information. It was an FBI informant, tried to get people to build bombs, offered to send them to bomb making school and all this stuff. So I know firsthand that agent provocateurs do exist. And you just wonder if this isn't the agent provocateur jamboree.
Yeah, what I would definitely tell people to be aware of is don't think for a second that psychological operations and disinformation campaigns, that is so real. That is not
the horn
conspiracy
guy
theory. It's like well played in all warfare for a long time. That's the new warfare, and these people are the masters of it. And that's how they seek control. If they rig voting, if you believe in the voting being rigged and the fraud, then don't think they're not using disinformation against you. You see it in the mainstream media. So don't be surprised if there's actors.
Specifically with the shaman guy, the horn guy, again, these people are sort of brought out as sort of the rodeo clowns. Everyone films them. And then when the servers are going out, the servers are the guys like this with the hoods, like this, right? With the sunglasses. And they're going out like this. And they look like they got, like my problem with a little bit too much, gut, but they've actually got 20 laptops under there. That's what you do when you're trying to cover for guys that are going in. They need to get something out of a room, out of the sergeant of arms room. You got to provide cover. And the shaman guy got more ink, more, I don't know what, photons that you possibly could shake a stick at. And there was a group of about 8 of those guys. It was sort of like a rodeo clown troupe.
Yep, there were some other ones too.
Yeah, and you just wonder if this isn't the psych operations. This is the diversion. Don't look here. Don't look at the Blackwater guys getting the servers. Look at the shaman guy. Look at him posing.
So we've heard 2 different theories. We've heard the theory that it's a black hat operation where the bad guys are coming in and they're going to be the ones taking the servers and trying to destroy them and cover up. And we've heard the white hat operation where we're trying to come in and save the servers and trying to get the information off them to punish the deep state, pretty much. What way are you leaning? More towards the hopium side of things, or are you leaning more towards the
I would like to be
doom and doom type?
But I'm not sure what I think about that. I think that because it was put on mainstream media so quickly, that it might be a cleanup operation. That's just an opinion. I don't really know. I haven't seen enough information from either side of that argument to really prove anything yet, and I guess we'll see. But I mean, it could be a cleanup operation too, to get rid of the things they don't want around. It's a convenient time to do so, you know. And I wish they were in the hands of the right people, and I think that things would be coming up pretty quickly if they were, and there was evidence on there we could use. So I'm leaning towards that it was a cleanup operation, and the bad guys got them.
Well, there you have it, Andrew and John. I think you're flying solo there now. We'll probably leave it right there. You can see the building presence here on Capitol Hill, and then we'll pick it up with you tomorrow.
All right. Thank you guys for taking a couple risks, hitting DC, hitting the streets, and giving us the live coverage of what's going on. I know when I was out there the other day, there wasn't a lot of reporters even pounding the streets. So the fact that you're out there with your mask on, risking it,
I'm going to walk this way. I'm going to walk this way because I've in order to conduct, they're moving us back here. They're moving us back toward the gates, and this road, Maryland, is going to be shut down, it looks like, and I don't know what about 2nd Avenue, but all right, Andy, I want to say thank you, John, for allowing me to go on your show, and thank you, Andy, for all your technical support here. But we're getting shut down here, and they're moving the perimeter out.
All right. Well, you guys be safe and don't cause too much trouble out there in the streets.
All right, George Webb, Addy Adds, and thanks again to our guest, Ann Vandersteel, for making time for us here at ScreamingOsprey.com, Neighborhood News Studio, and Addy Adds.
Addy Adds and Club Osprey.
And Club Osprey.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Osprey.
Signing out.